backloop is one of the most technical moves out there. It's definitely one of the easiest to go for because you always fall on your back. Preparation again, watch the video and you know, have it in your head before you go. I think picking your ramp is probably one of the most important things with a backloop. Now, to land backloops, you don't want to have any forward momentum. You actually want to come up into it and stall your speed and actually go real vertical. Now, you're dropping out of the sky, that's the difference. You're going up, you're stalling, you wait until you peak of your jump and then you drop out the sky. Also, under rotating, I think at first is much better than over rotating. I think that's when people start to, you know, really get injured is when they over rotate. Just remember, if it all goes wrong up there, just let go of that backhand. Try not to let go of the whole rig, but if you let go of the backhand, it will kill the power out of the sail and hopefully it will drop you in a nice safe position into the water start and then you can have another go. Okay, so we're looking for the most vertical, just about breaking point of the wave, and to give me that little bit of more extra speed, what I'm going to try and do is bear away a little bit before I go up. So I try and look at my course of that nice smooth arc going up into the ramp. Okay, so as I'm sailing along now, unhook, just because, you know, it's anything goes wrong, we can release that backhand, but if we're hooked in, we're going to go straight over the front. Okay, now hand position, front hand in normal sailing position, backhand. Now there's two things to do here. If you put your hands closer together, of course you will go more, you'll be able to throw the sail up and you'll get more of a vertical jump with your hands closer together. Now the only problem is when you come round on the back loop with that backhand being so far up, you're not going to be able to control the power. Now, if you're good enough, you can go up there. As you fall, you can then slide the backhand down the boom. But I'd recommend, if they're your first attempts at your back loop, just get it in that normal action position. So like you would put it when you unhook for a carve jibe or a forward loop. We're about to take off. My backhand's gone down so it's comfortable in that action position. I've unhooked, and as I come up to the wave, I'm going to start to carve up and I want to throw myself just slightly into wind. We're not going across the wind, we want to be on that sort of close haul tack, and that's the closest point to the wind that we can get away with windsurfing. It's like sailing upwind. Okay, and as we take off, we want to go up and we're going to drop out the sky. So actually, pretty much with a back loop, it's one of my favourite feeling moves because you don't really do much. It's, of course, you spot the ramp, but as you go boof, you fly up in the air, you really extend that front leg and really tuck up with your back leg and do your rocket air up. Now, when I'm ready to rotate is when I'm about to drop out the sky. Now this can be, it depends on your height, you know, you can go, you know, like Brasilio style and go up there and he's hanging out there for a while, probably, you know, on the phone to his mum for a bit and then he drops out the sky. Or you go my style when you learn, or, you know, as you get windier and as it gets bigger, you can then build it up. But what you want to try and do is jump up, okay, and then we're going to drop. So no matter how high you go, as you start to drop, that's when you're going to look over your shoulder. Now this is all you have to do, is look over your shoulder and that will start the rotation. It's not a throw, it's the most relaxed, comfy thing in the world. As you go up, you go boof, you really throw that front leg forward and that brings your body weight back. As you start to feel like you're dropping out the sky, all we're going to do is just turn our head and spot our landing. And from there, if I keep the sail sheeted in, okay, it's going to have power, but I'm going to keep that pulled in, keep myself tucked up, keep that front leg extended. If I just look over my shoulder, that's enough to start the rotation. Now, where do I look? I don't want to over rotate, so I want to under rotate. So what I normally do is just slightly spot my landing just there. So I want to land on a dead run ideally. Okay, I don't want to look too much because then I'm going to over rotate. So if you can imagine, you guys are the eye of the wind in the camera here, I'm going to go up, I'm going to go boof. I'm going to wait as I start to drop down, the eye of the wind, I'm going to spot there. Not round because I'm going to over rotate. So as I go round, I'm tucked up. As I start to drop, I'm just going to look round and spot my landing. Now, from here, you're going to start to come down nose first and quite fast. Now, the worst thing you can do here is let the back hand out because that true wind then will pull you forward and over the kit. Actually, what you want to do is keep that back foot tucked up and keep your backhand sheeted in and don't let go. Okay, and then if you undercut it by just looking over your shoulder, not too far, just spot your landing there, you look over your shoulder, and as you start to come down, you'll start falling from the sky there. Now, as the nose hits, that's where we want to go small to tall. Okay, and suddenly you're going to get that sudden urge of power as you land, and the clue's going to go through the eye of the wind, and that's why we need that backhand down the boom to control that power. Most of the time with backloops, you finish the few 20 degrees off in the water. As you land on a dead run, you do the last little bit with your kind of nose as it hits. So as soon as that nose comes down, we go from tucked up and then we extend. And what will happen is that clue will go through the eye of the wind, that's you, boom, and it pulls you around, and then we sail off. Now, top tips, keep the back foot tucked up. Okay, the worst thing on a back loop is you come round and you extend too early. That's when you're going to get that flat landing. Under rotate. It's not a throw, you're not going woof like that. That's a push loop. Okay, what you're doing is you're going up, you're going vertical, and you're dropping out the sky, and you're going to land downwind. Of course, as it starts to get windier and higher, and you start to push your limits and go a bit higher, it does get a little bit trickier to really keep that backhand sheeted in and depower the sail. But don't let go. Top tip. But for a few tips from the pros, we're going to go over to Brazilio now, and he's going to tell us his best tips for back loop. So over to you, big man. Top tips for a back loop? As I've seen you pretty much doing them no-handed, one-footed, and all sorts.
People do back loop many different ways. I like the back loops when they almost look like there is two motions, one going straight up and then going straight down. So same thing, you don't want to be too overpowered, but you want to have good speed. Try to find a very steep ramp, no white water or messy ramps, just like a clean, steep one.
Vertical, huh?
Yeah, and then as you jump, slowly think of a straight jump, straight up, but bring your boom close to your hips and go straight as far up as you can. And when you're up, you just kind of look over your shoulder, and then with time, you kind of do a pump, look over your shoulder, and then you point your nose straight down. So then you're just aiming straight at the water and try to land it with your nose.
Don't cheat out.
No,
just
don't cheat out. Just hold tight, and also don't land flat, because if you're going high on a back loop and you land flat, you'll be really bad for your board and maybe for your knees. So if you start going high, you always want to land with the nose.
I think good tip maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe best to under rotate at first than over rotate.
Yeah, definitely feel it out by going a little bit under, because if you over rotate, it can be a little sketchy when you don't have the reflex.
Yeah.
But then within practice, you start feeling more and more comfortable, and you know how to crash. Even if you over rotate. But
it's that backhand, does it? Whoa.
Yeah, make sure you get the straps out as well. You don't want to be just stuck with one foot flying down.
I went to let go and I was still hooked in. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Yeah,
you don't want to fall with straps and no hands.
Yeah, for sure.